Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. My name is Stephen Rivas. I'm the product manager at WIN-911. Today we're going to be talking about this new update that we're releasing on July 15th. It's not a major update. It's got a few small changes, and that's just what we're going to go over today. So this should be a fairly short webinar, so you'll get back some of your time today. So let's get started. What we're going to cover is our updated SCADA support. What did we add? What new versions did we add support for? We've made a few feature changes for some of the Aviva software, specifically System Platform and Aviva Edge HMI. iFix alarm shelving. We have added support so that you can prevent notification on shelved events or suppressed events, however you want to think of it. We've also made some changes to the log viewer so that you can export your log to a CSV file, PDF file, or an Excel file. And we're also going to be reselling some new cellular modems from Multitech and Sierra Wireless, so I'll give you the details on that. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the question section of GoToWebinar, and I will answer them at the end. So I'll go ahead and get started with the SCADA support. Aviva recently released System Platform and InTouch 2020. We've gone ahead and confirmed support with those versions. We didn't need to make any changes to the software for this, so if you're using an older version, as long as it's version 4, should work fine. One thing that I should mention here, if you are using System Platform or InTouch 2020, there is a hot fix that is available for their their Wonderware consumer DLL, which is something that we consume in order to receive alarms from either one of these systems. We have a knowledge base article that we have published up on our website. So if you search for that, you will find it, and we can provide the hot fixes for you guys. It's for System Platform 2017. There's one for 2014. If you want the one for 2020, you're going to have to go directly to Aviva to get that. But I highly recommend that anyone using System Platform or InTouch get this hotfix and install it. Even if they're not experiencing the problem that the hotfix fixes, there's a good chance that eventually you would. And eventually Aviva will roll this hotfix into the next update to 2020. But in the meantime, I highly suggest going ahead and grabbing that if you can. So System Platform and InTouch 2020 are supported. Aviva Edge 2020 is also supported. We've made changes to our installer, so when you do install WIN-911, you will have to select InTouch Edge HMI. That's what it used to be called, so that's why it's still called that in the installer. So when you run it, InTouch Edge HMI is the same thing as Aviva Edge 2020. We've added a third choice in here. So once you select that, you have to choose a particular version that you're using. And the reason you have to do that is because we load different libraries depending on which SCADA system you're going to be connecting to. So make sure that you select Aviva Edge 2020 if that's what you're going to be connecting to. If you upgrade to Aviva Edge 2020 from 8.1 Service Pack 3 or Update 4 or any of the other iterations of it, you'll need to run this new version and make sure you select that version so we put the right DLL in place and we'll be able to connect to your system. We've also added support for Simplicity 11, but at the same time we're dropping support for Simplicity 8 and 9. Now we're in the same type of situation here where we can only connect to one version at a time because it depends on the DLL from the toolkits that we're consuming, which versions those DLL support. So when you run the installer, you'll have to make the same choice where you're choosing which version of Simplicity you would like to connect to. We made a few more changes in Simplicity, fixed quite a few bugs on that. I'm not going to go over those in detail. They'll be in the release notes once the product is released, so you can check those out. But the main thing is that we have added support for 11, and we're dropping 8.2, 9.0, and 9.5 from the supported list. All right, so let's get to the system platform feature that I talked about earlier at the start. we've had excuse me, we've had this feature for a little while, and what it allows you to do is define custom descriptions for alarms without having to change the description within your Galaxy. So the idea here is that you give us the name of the alarm you want to match, and then you can put in a replacement description for the tag and a replacement description for the condition. So if you have really convoluted descriptions in your Galaxy and you can't change them, maybe you have to go through some type of change management and you don't want to go through that, you can just do it here within WIN-911. Now, like I said, this has existed for a while, except that the controls were fairly clunky. It's kind of hard to make many changes to it, and there was no way to do any kind of mass edits. So we wanted to overhaul it a little bit. So now we're putting everything in a grid, so it's much easier to add new things to it. It's also supporting the ability to do a CSV export and import. So if you export, let's say you put in one thing here like I have, and I were to click export, it's going to export it to a CSV file. I can load that into Excel, make my many changes. It's a really simple 3-column spreadsheet, and then just import it back into WIN-911, and then I didn't have to do it through the UI, which makes things move much, much quicker. Just to expand on this a little bit more, what you're really doing here is you're telling WIN-911 which alarm to look for when we match this alarm. I hope you guys can see my mouse. When we match this particular alarm, so tank 001 pressure dev major, then we're going to replace any kind of description that we're getting with pressure of tank 1, and then we're going to change the condition description to major pressure deviation in tank 1. Now, obviously, you can type in whatever you like in here. If you leave one of the fields blank, then we just won't override it, and you can just leave whatever came from system platform without changing it. So that is a change that will come in this next version. It's much easier to use this tool with the changes that we made. The other thing I want to talk about is for Aviva Edge and our custom field support. If you're not sure what a custom field is, it is an additional string that you can add to alarms within Aviva Edge. So you can have up to 10 of them. So you can enable 10 additional custom fields. You can put anything in these as far as I can tell. I mean, they're really just strings. And what we've done is we've made changes so that we can receive those custom fields. We can receive one up to all 10. And the reason that we did this is because we were talking with some of the guys over at Indusoft or Aviva about their product, and they wanted to bring in custom fields so they can provide context-sensitive hyperlinks to their web HMI screen. So when an alarm comes in, they can say this alarm should have this custom field of this URL that takes you to this particular page of the HMI. And then you can click that when you receive the alarm event, and it will show you that relevant that relevant information. So what we've gone ahead and done is added support for these custom fields so that you can type in anything that you want if you just want to add an additional description. But if you want to use it for the use case of clicking URLs, then you're going to need to put it in a particular format. The text that you put in the custom field will need to be, let me, because I'm not sure you guys can see my mouse. Let's change this over to a laser just in case. All right, so you'll have to type in a label that you'd like to display. So this is going to be a friendly label. Instead of a really long URL, for example, you can just put some friendly text that an operator can read. Put a comma, and then you put the URL that you want to redirect to. So for example, I can put link to my HMI screen and then put in some text, my URL. And when I get that event in my in my mobile app, I can click that and it will open that URL. Of course, you can put any URL in there. Maybe if you have some type of web server that links to SOPs or something else like that, you're more than welcome to put that in there. Again, if you just want to add additional descriptions or where you don't have to change your original description, you can do that too. So For example, if you would want to use this description field for like a voice call out instead of changing your original description that shows up in your alarm summary, something like that, you could use this feature for that. So what this looks like in Aviva Edge is when you define an alarm and you enable a custom field, you'll see a new column here. And you can see I've typed in open HMI in browser, and then you could put some URL in here. And if you look at that in the mobile app, what you'll end up seeing is this attachments field, and you'll see open HMI browser. When you click on that, it will redirect to that page. You don't have to use that friendly label either. If you just want to put the URL, you can just put the URL and it will just open up to that page, no problem. But that is basically, that's the gist of this new feature. Again, you can have up to 10 of these custom fields, and WIN-911 can pull them all in if you want to do that. We just want to make you guys aware of that. All right, so I want to talk about iFix shelving next. We'll just do a quick demo of that in a virtual machine. So let me exit out of my presentation, go over to workstation and go full screen. Remember how buttons work. Okay, so what we've got running here is iFix 6.1. There's really nothing special about it. I've created a digital alarm that we can shelve. So if I trigger my digital alarm, it'll pop up, and then I'll see that in WIN-911 as well. So one of the things that we changed is in your advanced strategy definition. And I should mention this is only available for advanced. We're not currently supporting it on the interactive license level, but that will change with our next version of WIN-911 for our revamped UI that we've been talking about for a while. So when you define a strategy, what you're going to have when you have iFix installed are a few additional conditions to match. And those are going to be alarm becomes suppressed and alarm becomes unsuppressed. So what you would likely want to do, and what I've done in this other strategy, is saying that if an alarm becomes suppressed, I want to stop all my tactics. And the tactics represent notifications going out. So when something gets suppressed, I probably don't want to send any notifications anymore for that particular alarm, so I can stop all the tactics. And if it becomes unsuppressed, so in iFix's case, it's shelving, so everything's on a timer. So once it's unshelved after your timer, it's gonna become unsuppressed. So you can choose to take an action at that point and say, when alarm becomes unsuppressed, go ahead and start your tactic up again. And that can be any tactic that you want. Again, that's just your call out list that you're going to be triggering. So that's a fairly simple approach to it. Now, the reason that we did it this way rather than just hard coding some things is because iFix, when you shelve something, the iFix, the actual alarm doesn't ever go away. It's still always there. The shelve bit is just a new add-on bit for those alarms. So we needed to still handle the alarm lifetime the same way, and so that's why we've done it this way. There are other SCADAs, for example, InTouch or System Platform, when you do suppression, where we just don't see the alarm because it is suppressed, and so you don't need to do these type of things because we just won't see it when you suppress it. It doesn't come through the toolkit that we're using to receive alarm events, but the iFix is a little bit different. Factory Talk is also a little bit different, and that's another one we'll be adding support for. We don't have it right now, but we will add it in a later release. So let me cancel this because I already have one created. So my suppression strategy says initial event, start some tactic. If it becomes suppressed, stop everything. If it becomes unsuppressed, notify again. So what we'll do is we'll go back over to my screen, choose my particular alarm, and we're going to shelve it. I have a shelving policy for 1 minute, so I'll choose that because I think that's the minimum. I don't think you can go any lower than that. But you'll see that it disappeared here. So I'm going to come back to my log viewer, and I'm going to go over here and enable the suppress column. And then I'd like to drag it over here. And you can see that this event is still there. So the event still exists, but it is suppressed. So if I click on it, I can see on my strategy execution that I had my initial event when I triggered it earlier, and then I suppressed it and I stopped my tactic. So I have now stopped my tactic. So if there were, I don't know, 10, 15 people in that list, I would have stopped going through. Now, if an alarm is triggered and it's been and it's already in the shelve state, then we're not going to start. We're not even going to send any notifications at all. So you don't have to do anything special for that. So if you have a shelving policy of, I don't know, a couple hours, and then alarms keep going in and out, we're not going to be sending notifications for those because it is in the suppressed state. Now you can see it's been a minute, and man, I managed to suppress that right on the 1047 there. It become unsuppressed, so now when it came unsuppressed, that alarm is now a valid alarm again, and I'm going to start notifying people again. So that's really just the gist of what we've done here for suppression in iFix. I think we'll have to handle it differently in other SCADA systems, but we wanted to show this to you guys for this particular release. Now, I also mentioned that you can export what's in your log viewer, and you can do that with this button up here. You can also just copy what's in this list. I know there's only one. Let's switch to history mode and change it to yesterday or a couple days ago. So there's a few events. I think I can copy these, but I'm not sure. Just double check. It might just not be this view. Yeah, so you can just copy if you do Control A copy, you can copy and paste right out of it. Or you can go to export in whatever view you're on. So I was on this view, so it's going to have those three things in it. It's going to let me export to either an Excel spreadsheet, a CSV file, or a PDF. The PDF doesn't format too well, just warn you, because you're trying to shove a big grid into a PDF, and it just doesn't look very good. I don't have Excel on here, so I'm going to choose CSV. I didn't type a name. Oh yeah, I did. It was it auto fills in the name according to the date. So go to Documents, find my CSV file, and here I can see it now. And if I were to open that in Excel, obviously it would look a little bit better. Maybe I will. Let's go over to the Notifications tab, where Notifications tab shows you what alarms have triggered, the state changes, and typically who would have been notified. In this case, I don't have anyone set up. So if I export this to an Excel file, I'll retain this color coding if I choose Excel. If I choose CSV, obviously there is no way to export color to a CSV file. So let's do Excel workbook, and we'll save that. And go over here, copy this guy, minimize, and I have to go to my desktop here. So I'm hiding my icons, go to Excel. Go to my desktop. And you can see here I've exported it, and it retains the color coding. The color coding is helpful so that you immediately know what alarm state it is. If it's red like that, you know it's an active alarm. If it's inverted, you know it's acknowledged, and if it's green, it's cleared. So really that's what it's for. All right, so I think that was, actually there is one other thing that's not on the agenda that I wanted to show you guys. And it's this account change utility. When you install WIN-911, you have to specify a Windows user account to run all your services, and if that ever changes, it's kind of a pain to change that. So we made a quick utility that will allow you to change this user account. I don't have another user account to change it to at the moment, but you can see we've got all these WIN-911 services. They're all running under a certain user. We also have application pools running in IIS, and those have to be changed too. Those are even more difficult to change. So we made this account utility real quick, and all it does is browse for the user that you want to change it to. Well, I guess I could technically change it to administrator, but I don't know the password for that. Type in the password, and what that'll do is it will go through all your services and application pools and change that password for you. It also it validates the user to make sure that you've typed the password right, and it'll also warn you if that user account doesn't have access to SQL, which it will need to in order to read the configuration for WIN-911. So this was just a quick tool that we put together to make that a little bit easier. And I mean, that is about it for all the changes that we made for this particular version. So let me jump back again to the presentation and go to the next screen and talk about some cellular modem stuff. So Multitech a while ago discontinued their LVW2, which was their Verizon LTE modem, and their LAT1 modem, which was for AT&T. And those were both Telit-based Telit chipset modems. And they released a new modem, which is the LNA7, which handles both, but the chipset changed. And it's more difficult to send text messages through the telnet session. And it really wasn't going to be an option for us. And so we ended up releasing support for a Sierra Wireless RV50X, which is a little bit more expensive than the Multitech modems that we had been selling in the past. So recently, Multitech has released a new modem, which is their MNG2. It is an IoT or narrowband modem. It's not the same as the existing modem, so it's still a Telit chipset, but it works on a different technology. And the reason I point that out is because if you want to get this modem and use it with Verizon, you can't go through your normal Verizon account. As some of you guys, if any of you guys have commissioned any IoT equipment with the Verizon, then you probably know this already. So you'll have to go to Verizon, set up a new account with an M2M plan or machine-to-machine plan, IoT plan, whatever they're calling it today, and get special SIM cards for it to use that modem. If you're using AT&T, then you can just put a regular SIM card in there and it will work. This modem will work everywhere. It is a world modem. It supports pretty much every cellular frequency out there. So we're going to be selling it worldwide. But the main modem, I think that if you're selling in North America, that you should focus on, assuming you're going to use AT&T or Verizon, is a Sierra Wireless LX40 modem. So this is an Ethernet-based modem. It only sends extended ASCII characters, which should be fine for if you're in North America. It's cheaper than the RV50X. I believe we're going to resell it for, I think it's $750. I'll have to double check. It'll be in the price sheet once this new version launches. But this modem is, in my opinion, much easier to set up than the Multitech modems. And if you're in North America, it's what I support. I would rather recommend that you go with because it's so much easier. And we send messages through this using a UDP connection. We're not doing the telnet stuff. And UDP it's fire and forget. You fire it off to the modem, say send this text message. It will send an acknowledgement back saying it got the message and sent it out, so you know if there were failures. But the general setup is just so much easier. And another benefit of using this modem, if you want internet connectivity from the modem, you can still use that functionality of the modem. Whereas on the Multitech modems, when you use that telnet session, you're locked out of the internet capabilities that modem can provide. With the Sierra Wireless modems, that's not the case. Now, we're specifically targeting the LX40 for reselling, but any Sierra Wireless modem that's an AirLink modem, you can see that here on the picture where it says AirLink. It's a series of modems that Sierra Wireless supports that runs the same operating system. Pretty much every modem that Sierra Wireless sells, that's an AirLink modem, you'll be able to use it with WIN-911. But we want to focus on this particular modem because we feel it will fit the needs of most of our customers. Okay, so that's it for cell modems, and I think that's my last slide there for what's changing. So what we're working on right now in development is we are working on a new UI to replace that Silverlight application I just was showing you guys. It's going to be a desktop app, but a WPF app. It will be networkable. we're making major changes to it. The navigation's going to change. We're getting rid of tactics and strategies. We'll also remove the dependency on IAS, which uses a lot of resources on the system. So that will decrease that resource usage, including RAM and CPU. So we're really excited about that. We had worked on mock-ups for a month or well, a couple months, I suppose, and we have been sharing them with some of our distributors and system integrators to get feedback on those, and we're circling back and incorporating a lot of that feedback. And we've already gotten started. We're hoping that we can get something out by the end of Q1. That's what we're currently targeting for this new UI. Silverlight will stop being supported by Microsoft in October of 2021. So we have not a whole lot of time, but we've got enough time to get this out there and replace the current UI that we're looking at. We're also looking at adding redundancy after that for an automatic failover. So if you configure two WIN-911 systems, you have the database sync together, so you don't have to duplicate changes. If there's a failure on one WIN-911, then it can fall back to the other one. So that is the other priority that we have. And then this is most likely just not going to happen this year. OPC UA alarm and conditions. I think it was a little bit of a lofty goal, but that's our next data source that we plan on adding support for. So if you're using OPC alarm and conditions, for example, if you're Siemens using WinCC or any other SCADA system supporting alarm and conditions, we'll be able to connect to those and receive alarm events from those. So that's what our main priorities are right now in our development team. If you have anything that you'd like to get back to us on, we have a feature request board up on our website. I haven't updated this particular screenshot in this presentation in a while, but this is where if you have a particular request that you'd like to see in the software, please go here, type it in, and you can have other users vote on it, and we can talk back and forth about that particular feature and figure out what your use case is. And in some cases, we've already done the feature request that someone's asked for. The alarm announcer that we released earlier this year came directly from this board, so you can see alarm announcers there. We shipped that a while ago. A heartbeat for InTouch Edge, HMI, now Aviva Edge, came from here. So we really welcome feedback on here. And if again, if there's anything you want to see from us, if you don't have contacts already, just feel free to just go on this board and put it up there. And if there are other like-minded people, they'll comment on there too. So it's been a really cool addition to our website. So if you go to win911.com, you can find it through there, or you can just go to features.win911.com too. So that's it for this presentation. So if anyone has any questions, I will take a look at those. Let me see if I can open this up here. If I can figure out how computers work. I don't know why this is so small. Let me break this off. There we go. Looks like we have one question from Josh. Just to confirm, the ability to import tag descriptions from Orchestra IDE is a new feature. Our system integrator told us that our version doesn't import descriptions and we have to enter them in manually. That is true. So that is the main change for that system platform description stuff, is that you had to go manually put it in one by one or go edit SQL on your own, which is no one wants to do that. And so what the main thing that we've done is we reworked that space. I can show you that. I think I have that installed. If we go to alarming system platform descriptions, then this is this particular control. So it didn't look like this before. It looked more like a workspace like this, where you had to add each one in one by one. Though these are subscriptions, but the idea is that you had a collection selector on the left and you had the details on the right. And it was a bit of a pain to use. So we got rid of that and put everything in a grid. So if you want to edit it, you can come in and you can go one by one and you can type them in, which it's still not great to do in here because you don't have all the features of something like Excel. but you can export what you want, what you already have, to a CSV file, then open up that CSV file in Excel, put in all your alarm names and descriptions, and then just come in, hit the edit button, click import, and bring that particular file back in. And it will merge or overwrite your existing. It'll ask you what you want to do. Do you want to merge or do you want to overwrite? Question from Scott. What version of Win-911 supports the iFix alarm shelving notification suppression? So just this new version that we're releasing here soon, which is, I forgot the version for it, 4.20.13, I think will be the final version. So that's the version that we're releasing that supports suppression, or shelving, sorry. All right. So if there are no other questions, I think that's it for this presentation. Feel free to reach out to me and let me know if you have any other questions, or the sales team, and we can get back to you. So thanks everybody for taking the time to join us this morning. I know it was a little bit shorter than typical, but on the bright side, you get 30 minutes of your day back. So again, thanks everybody, and I'll talk to you guys soon.